Welcome to LawHelp Australia, where we keep you informed and safe with tips and updates. My name is Dinesh Weerakkody.
And my name is Mary Bandalan. Say someone owes you money, for example, from a service or a product from an individual or a company on credit or invoice. What are your practical options to obtaining that money should that money not be paid? That is tonight's topic, debt recovery.
Let me introduce you to the panel today. Senad, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Thank you, Dinesh. My name is Senad Dizdarevic. I'm a principal at Ascot solicitors. We operate predominantly in the Melbourne western suburbs. And I've got here with me Paul.
Paul, you're not a stranger, but no. Anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself, please, Paul.
Sure, thank you. My third filming, yep. I'm a senior associate at Ascot Solicitors. I've been there just under a year. Yep.
Now, apart from debt recovery and the laws in relation to that area, what other areas do you practice in proficient in?
We do all areas, predominantly.
It's a general practice,
It's a general practice.
Right.
Our main areas are debt recovery, commercial, civil litigation, probate, wills and estates, and family law.
All right, we'll start. Mary?
Now that we're familiar with all our
Yes.
participants, so let's get to the practical options for debt recovery. What are the options available to clients?
There are a range of options. The first starting point would be to write a letter of demand.
Mm-hmm. And what is that?
So a letter of demand is a formal letter saying that a party owes you money. Mm-hmm. So formally you'll notice that if the money isn't paid within a certain period of time, then proceedings may be issued against that party as a cause of action.
Paul, is that the first step? So someone is not paying you, and the person might be taking their own actions to call or email or whatnot.
Sure.
And then they issue or send a letter of demand. Is that the step progressively?
Correct. Basically, you start off informally and speaking to the person, emailing them,
trying to sort it out.
Them, sort it out yourself. And then maybe the more formal option is a letter of demand where you actually write a letter and saying, this is what you owe me, this is why we say you owe me this much. If you do not pay within a certain period of time, this is what will happen. Which is generally drawn up by a solicitor.
Right. Yeah. So because it, I guess, needs to be written in a particular way, I mean, probably non-threatening in a diplomatic way, is it?
Yeah, correct. I mean, the first option we always say to clients is try to recover the money yourself. Right. It's cost efficient and it may not be time efficient, but it saves you going through the legal channels. Once a lawyer gets involved, then obviously there's costs associated with that. We like to think that we achieve an outcome very quickly, but there's, as I said, you're paying money to chase money.
That's right. I'll come to that cost issue in a little bit. But in relation to letter of demand, okay, let's say that we've sent a letter of demand. You might email or register post or whatever that you do to send a letter of demand. What if there is no answer, no feedback?
So you give them a timeline, so don't leave it open-ended and just say you must pay.
Right.
You give them 7 days, 14 days, whatever.
Is that
it might
the
be.
usual thing, Paul, isn't it? 7, 14 days?
Probably 14 is the average or the standard. Sometimes people wait 21 days, maybe it's a larger sum, or a lot of the time if they
really need the money.
There's
no legislative time period,
There's no legislative time period. So, or if you really want the money quickly and you want to put some pressure on, 7 days.
Depending on the circumstances, how many tries that you have tried informally and all that, I guess. Yep, right.
So how long in general does it take for you to decide to initiate court action then?
Good question. It depends on the person that's wanting to chase its debts. If they come in and see you, say on a Monday, we could have a letter go out by Tuesday morning, if that's what they want to do. So usually the first consultation starts with them telling us about the debt, how that debt was accrued, for what services or goods that were maybe delivered, and then we have a discussion with them what the steps to take are. One of them is to issue a letter of demand. Usually people come to us after they've exhausted all other avenues, and then they come to us saying, well, now I want to go legal.
How many letter of demands would you send? Just 1, 2, in the sense if you don't get a reply back to your first one, or you get a reply but that's not satisfactory, what would you do?
My view on it is 1 letter.
Right.
If the debt is a bona fide debt, and there's no point spending money sending letter after letter after letter if you're going to have a dispute about it, especially if the debt is decently small. VCAD is you can start at VCAD, which is decently cheap to bring a matter on, and then you can go up higher to the Magic Court, and if the debt is really large, above 100,000, you can go to the County Court and look at the Supreme Court potentially.
Right.
But letter writing, especially if there is no response being received, my view would be just limited to 1, maybe 2 letters.
Maximum 2, that's your view.
That would be my view, correct.
Right. Now, the most important question now the clients will want to know, as well as the public, the cost involved in it, because it depends, a lot depends on the cost as well. Now, let's start with the letter of demand, because that's the first step. How much, I know there's no standard, again, cost for these matters, the time that you spend in the consultation, the writing of the letter, and so on. So just at least give us a ballpark figure, how the cost is decided and how much the cost will be for a general letter of demand,
Okay.
a letter of demand, basically.
Most lawyers work on the time-based method of billing, so that just say that the job takes you an hour, say half an hour of consultation, 20 minutes to write the letter, 10 minutes to get some feedback from the client, it gets sent off. That's a 1 hour of work. In the ballpark figure, around about $440, including GST, to send that letter off.
Right. And if it's a follow-up letter of demand somewhere there as well?
Something like that, but it might be that
Slightly less, or?
the follow-up letter would normally probably be a response to the response. So you send the letter off, get a response, and then maybe a second letter to deal with the issues that have been brought up in response. And then, as Senad said, you don't want to start writing more letters, just you've got to act or not act.
What about in situations where you don't have enough information about the debtor's financial situation? What are the options then?
Well, that's a really key thing that should be considered right at the very start, which a lot of people tend not to. If they look at it a little bit later, is that if you're going to go down to court action or even contemplating it, there's no use suing somebody if they've got no assets and no income, because in the end, you can't get blood out of a stone, so the old saying goes.
Unless you want to make their life a bit difficult.
Right.
So that's just to go back one step in response to that cost question. We also work on we work with the parties. For example, if a debt, let's just say the debt is $5,000, and if we send a letter out, say $400 to send out the first letter, we're not going to, usually have this is how we built our practice. We're not going to charge for a follow-up letter or follow-up consultation.
Right.
So we want to work with the parties to try to resolve a possible outcome. If the debt is a much larger debt, and on a debt of $5,000, unless the person is exceptionally wealthy and they want to cause a headache to that person, that's when you go down the path of a bankruptcy or a step demand if it's a company. If they're not, then unfortunately it's just a bad debt. And you shouldn't spend good money chasing bad money.
Right.
So that's the one rule that we go by. Don't spend good money chasing bad money.
All right, we will take a short break now and we will be back soon.